Hi, welcome to my first YouTube tutorial. I'm a little bit nervous, a little bit rusty, but we're going to go and get it done. So what we're doing here is we're making pisanki, and so as you can see on the video, I'm showing you on a piece of paper that we're making pisanki, and we're doing different methods like drop, pull, and writing. And yeah, so this is actually an example of a wooden one, and I'm going to be making that design. And this is a book that I'm referencing. You can kind of see like different styles, like you've got drop pull, like that's a drop pull right there, that's another drop pull, there's a writing one right there, it's a really old kind of looking one as well there. So just, some fun things. And you can see that I drew with pencil sort of like the basics of the design, of the geometry, just so I can, make sure I've got those straight lines. Also, don't forget, if you're going to do this, to have a pencil, so you can do the design. And let's see what is that. Oh yeah, I'm also making two other ones, two other pisanki. And then these are hard-boiled ones for the krashanki, and I'll explain those later, or now. Those are krashanki, those are hard-boiled, and I'm gonna actually dip them in some homemade dyes, some natural dye, so that they're actually edible, and something that you can do at home as well. And also making drapanki from those, but I'll explain that. So here we have dye from Ukrainian EggCessories, so it's black orca, canola yellow, and cream soda, and sweetgrass. This is a Canadian company that you can order online. These are my homemade ones, so you've got like red onion, peels, so that's just boiled water. That is red cabbage, so it makes like a bluey color. This is onion peel with turmeric. I just wanted to experiment with color. And then that is just regular onion peel. Yeah, and then so that's where the krashanki, drapanki are going to go into, the hard-boiled eggs. The other dyes, they have vinegar in them, but the natural dyes don't. Okay, you will also need beeswax. For the flame, you technically don't need a beeswax candle, but for everything else you need beeswax. Oh, those are some other materials, so it's like an embosser for paper, and then the other thing is like a little like needle or pin on the back of a pencil eraser. So that is for the drop pull method. And then these are, one is called a kistka. I actually don't know the plural because it's a Ukrainian word and I only speak Polish, not Ukrainian. It might be kistki, I'm not sure, but that's one is a kistka, and they have different sizes. So you can have a thicker line for filling in, or just have a thicker line or a thinner line. And sometimes there's a color at the bottom, so you can double check which one you have. You can get those also at Ukrainian EggCessories online. Also Folk Camp, you can buy those from them as well. So you can have them delivered to your home, so you can make those at home. And yeah, let's get started, shall we? Let's get started. Okay, so here's my egg. Here is my model. And what we're going to be doing is, I don't know if it's like reverse drawing, but basically whatever you want white, that is what you're going to immediately draw. So whatever you want white, the lines, the outlines, if you want to color in something and you want it to be pure white, you drop the wax on it right away. Because what we're doing is that we're trapping the color. Here you can see I'm just trying to figure out which thickness I want. I want a lot of detail, but I don't want it to be like super intricate. So I went with sort of like between a super fine and a medium. So I guess just regular fine. Also, yeah, this is where you can kind of like put the wax in, and so you put it into that little like funnel at the wider end. And it's not ideal to do it that way, but you do what you got to do. And so what I'm doing is I'm not actually dipping the end of the funnel into the flame. I'm going around it, because you do not want to you don't want to burn your materials. See, like you could have like sort of sooty wax, or warp the metal, or burn the wood. You just want to be careful. You just want it to melt, so just being beside it is good enough. And here I go, making my first line. And it's a bit of a slow process. Like you can see that here's my line, and there's a lot more to go. But if you get the hang of it, if you get into it, it can actually be really fun. I love doing these. So here's just a sped up version, just so you can kind of see the whole process. And yeah, you can kind of see how if you get a good kind of flow of melted wax, then you can just make a line like right away. But sometimes, depending on maybe even the temperature of your room, the wax can cool down a little bit quicker, so then you have to go back and forth with making sure that the wax is melted in your funnel. And then of course it runs out, so then you've got to replenish it. So you might notice that sometimes I will be taking from the sides of the candle. And again, if you don't have much beeswax at home, I only realized after how much beeswax melted and how little beeswax candles I had left. So it would have been better if I used a regular candle and then just like had some beeswax shavings on the side. But in the moment, I was just excited to make pisanki. And this is sort of my first intricate design in a while. I did learn how to make pisanki from a Ukrainian artist. Her name is Mirosha. And she taught sort of like this beautiful sort of star design. And with Ukrainian pisanki, from what I understood and from what I learned from her, there's a lot of stories attached to it. You're writing stories onto the eggs. You're writing legends, you're writing history, you're writing tradition, you're writing culture onto these eggs, which is why it's called writing instead of pisać. Well, pisanki comes from the word pisać, well, in Polish. So that means to write. And I'm sort of saddened by, certain Polish like cultural sort of tales or being lost, or as far as I know, maybe we didn't have stories attached to ours, because drop and pull methods were more kind of predominant in Polish pisanki. Well, depending on your region, if you were more east, then you had more of these sort of intricately written ones. But it's interesting, the diversity of pisanki. And that's why in this video I'm actually showing you, in the end, I think I'm showing you 4 different styles. Yeah, and I'm sure they're predominant in other cultures. Like I've seen eggs, part of Iranian Nowruz celebrations, and in other cultures. So, if you want to make pisanki, like I'm fully comfortable, and this is just my one opinion, but I feel like if you want to make them, like, go ahead. Make them unique with your own culture. I know when I learned making pisanki for the first time in this like sort of traditional way, it was with Mirosha, but it was at artist Jamie Morse's house, and she's Métis, and so it was like a great way that we were all sort of like coming together cross-culturally, and I was thinking about my own culture, everyone was thinking about it was great. It was just this great sort of intercultural exchange through Pisanki. And so what I'm doing here is I'm filling in the holes. So with this style of Pisanki, I actually made 2 holes at the bottom and at the top, and then I blew out, blew out all the egg yolk and egg white that was inside, and sort of tried to like wash as best as I could. Like, there are like more high-tech, I say high-tech, it's more of like a little pump that you use. And then also with Ukrainian accessories, if you buy online, you can also get like plugs at the end. But in this case, I just take wax and I fill in the holes, because if you don't, then you're gonna have the dye bleed out every time you're working. And you'll see an example of that later on, where I forgot to plug in the holes of one of my eggs and a bit of dye falls out. So as you can see, I'm comparing, and you may notice, or maybe not, but I did the petals in the opposite directions. So I said to myself while I was working, like, it's okay, just, we don't make mistakes, we make happy accidents, and it's fine. Like, the eggs are your own. Like, I even learned that there's this thing called Mary's tear, where if there's a bit too much of the wax buildup and it drops, then it creates like a drop. You can't take the wax off once you put it on. Like, that's it. Here I'm explaining that, I'm now going to dip it in the yellow, but also I'm not using green because I don't have an orange wash. I'll explain that in a second when I finish my Mary's tear story. Anyways, so Mary's tear, it's just a drop, and it's sort of like, I don't know if you can say good luck, but it's fine. It's fine. And, keeps us humble. Not everyone's perfect. And so here I am. Again, I probably shouldn't be using a metal spoon. You could use a sort of like small plastic bottle filled with water to like anchor it down. But in this moment, I just want to sort of quickly show how everything's done. No longer than 5 minutes, I would say, because then you'll get spotting and you don't want that. So here I think I've had it for about 2.5 minutes or 2 minutes. But yeah, so I said Mary's tear. Oh, orange wash. Yeah, so orange wash is basically something that you do in between colors. So for example, in this case, I'm going to be using yellow, pink, and, well, technically white if you count the eggshell, but white, yellow, pink, and black. I'm not going to use my green in this case, because if I use my green after the yellow, that's fine. But then if I want to put pink on top, it's going to come out kind of muddy. It's going to come out like a darker... It's not going to be pink. It's not going to be cream soda pink. And basically an orange wash just washes off the color that was on before. Hi, Richie. That's my dog. Washes off the color that's on before. So then it would wash off the green where I don't want the green, and then I could put the pink on. Anyways, but I just don't have that. And I couldn't figure out how to make it, so we're just doing no green. So whatever is green on that egg is going to be pink. So here I have already dyed it yellow, and what I'm now doing is I'm going in with the details that are going to be yellow. So by putting the wax on at this step, I'm trapping in the yellow. And yeah, you can see me zigging and zagging around. After a while, if you're not used to this, you can probably get a headache from it, because you're sort of staring more or less in the direction of an open flame, and once in a while I had to turn off the candle. I had to blow out the candle, and yeah, it's kind of tough because then you've got all those fumes. It's fun, but make sure that you have an open window, make sure that you can take a few breaks, make sure that your eyes take a few breaks, especially. Usually I don't wear gloves when I do this, but I just wanted to kind of look professional in the video, and also I was working with a lot of dyes, so yeah, best to you don't have to wear gloves. Essentially, if you don't have those, I guess you can call them industrial dyes. If you don't have those dyes that are, not safe to consume, I wouldn't recommend food dye unless there's a method that I am not aware of. Maybe as long as there's vinegar involved, it should be fine. But, kind of explore a bit. Like maybe there's something I don't know and food dye is fine, mixed with water and vinegar. Make sure it's always boiled first to make your dyes. Or if you don't have food dye at home, like, you can use the natural dyes. Here I'm putting it into the pink, and you can already see just how bright it's going to be. And funny enough, once I take it out, you can kind of actually see where the wax has already trapped the color. So you can, while you're working, you get these sort of sneak peeks of what it's going to look like, which I always thought was kind of cool because I'm a bit impatient and I kind of want to see the end results right away. But this is what you get instead. So what was I saying? In this video, I'm trying to show that, you can use both white and brown eggs. You can use whatever you have at home. You can use like a little pin attached to the eraser. Like, as long as you have sort of the minimal key things, you can make a pisanka. This is just sort of, if you have all the tools. Oh, there it is. It's already so pretty. If you have all the tools. This is just a little tutorial to sort of show you how these sort of more traditional, intricate ones are made. But if you just want to make something for yourself that's more for fun, nothing too intricate, you're just starting out, then, later on in the video, I have these sort of more simpler ones. And you can see that I am filling in the petals to keep the pink. And it's okay, I say it's okay in the sense that, you see some of the wax is a bit darker. That's okay, that's just a bit of soot. But also another note is that I have a bad habit of making my wax really thick. And then I am unhappy with myself once I have to melt the wax off because it's a lot of wax to melt. But, trust the wax. That's why in a lot of kind of the shots you see the egg sort of out of shot because I'm staring at it really, really closely just to make sure that the wax is there. And it was there, and it's fine. Like, you have to realize that the wax will do its job, and you have to trust it. And yeah, sorry, my dog wants to be part of the tutorial as well, so he's just kind of complaining beside me for scratches. But yeah, there we go. Well, everyone has a different method. If you end up having thicker lines, that's fine. If you trust the thin lines and you can, kind of see where they are, then that's great. It'll be easier for you after when you try to melt it off. There is another method actually, and I'm curious about that one, and I think you have to buy specially dyed beeswax for it. But there's a method that I've seen where you, maybe not, that you dye your egg first, but then you have wax that is colored, either black. I've seen black, red. I think I've even seen white. And I've seen regular beeswax, but like more yellowed, because when I melt that beeswax, it comes out clear on the egg. But sometimes. Anyway, so I always get off on tangents. It is this cool thing where you keep the wax on. So you've melted the wax into these designs onto the egg, and then it stays there. And I want to figure that out. I'm sure it's, well, I don't want to say it's simple because everything is an intricate artwork. But in terms of like, oh, okay, well, if I know how to do this, then that's just the same thing, but, you skip the step of melting it off. So that'd be interesting. I want to see where I can acquire such special waxes. Doing little twirls up at the top, just having fun with my little design, comparing it. There's the Orca Black. Yeah, I'm showing you that my spoon is clean. Make sure that you always clean your spoons. You don't want to do something, well, you don't want to mix the colors too much. You want it to be pure colors. And so I'm taking it out, and I kind of had a little bit of an issue with my black. As you can see, it's not black. It's just a darker pink. And so I'm wondering if maybe I need to, I don't know, add more vinegar. I was worried about keeping it in too long in case of bleeding, but anyways. Oh, here the camera had a little bit of a malfunction, so it's gonna skip to something else in a second. But basically after that I was done, and I was melting the wax off. And here it is with the wax melted off. So in some cases you do see the black, so maybe it's not too bad, but in other cases it was a little bit more of like, you can kind of see the pink underneath. In the meantime I also made a few simpler ones with the green, and the green is so nice. And then this is a little bit more of like a religious one, if you celebrate Easter as a religious holiday. And yeah, so next up we have the hard-boiled ones. So you hard-boiled them, and that's it. And I made another one because I got ahead of myself and I didn't save one of the eggs for the drop and pull method. And so I'm just going to do a quick drop and pull with one color. So this is actually interesting because I haven't dipped brown eggs in that dye. So this is going to be me discovering what the colors are going to look like on a brown egg. And just make sure it's clean. You don't want any like water or egg substance coming out. And here I am assembling my little pin, and there's my little, you can tell it's been in the fire for a couple of times. I shouldn't recommend paper embossing tools. Ukrainian EggCessories does have specialized dotting tools. I'm going to say their name forever because they're great. Oh, and this one I actually used tape. You could use a natural leaf with a bit of like pantyhose to keep it in and like tie it at the bottom, but I didn't have any pantyhose that I was willing to cut up, so tape works just as well. And well, we don't have a lot of regular tape. We actually have electrical tape because my husband does a lot of computer stuff, so we need electrical tape. So I just made some cool funky designs there. And then this is actually a brown egg that I dipped in my red cabbage dye. And so it's a little bit darker. Like if it was a white egg, I think it would come out like a light blue. But it still did the job. It still colored the egg. So here is the brown egg. I blew out the yolk and whites that were inside, and here I am, just can't really see it too well, it's a very tiny thing, but what you do is you kind of scoop up a little bit, go near the flame, you drop and pull. See? Yeah, you drop and pull, all the while being on the egg. And it's, yeah, but that's pretty simple. Like that's the style I recommend doing at home. Maybe not everyone has pins. If you're this is what happens when you put it too close to the flame and you don't pay attention. Your needle sets on fire. So this is just me making sure it's okay. Maybe you don't sew or have never sewed, so you don't have pins. Maybe you have, I'm trying to think of what's a good, I don't know, but push pins, that would be a huge one. But anything that is metal, because you have to be careful, that is metal and will take on wax and pull. So this is me kind of struggling with the bigger one because sometimes it doesn't take on, but here we go. It's, sometimes it's a little bit sloppy, but I kind of like those, my sloppy egg children. Like, it's fine. I still love every egg that I make, and I just have to tell myself that, that's just where I'm at the moment with my abilities, and it's a lot better than where I was before, and I'm proud of every egg I make. So here I'm actually making, so in the middle I had like a little, I don't know, sunflower kind of design, and then here I'm making my favorite drop and pull design, which is just this little wreath, you know, of leaves. Hi, Richie. This little leaf of wreath. Yes, Richie. He's a little complaining little boy. Wreath of... Sorry, he just yawned. Wreath of leaves, or you can call them like pussy willows, like whatever you want them to be. You know, they could be what you want them to be. And... Hi, Richie, yeah. And I'm just continuing on the other side. And yeah, it's just repetitive motion. Like, I just wanted to do a simple design to show. And yeah, so I'm showing you what is happening basically. This is just so simple. Trying to think of even like something to say. Oh, actually, it's in this one that I'm gonna make a little bit of a mistake, which you'll see in a second. But yeah, if anyone is interested in sort of like more historical information, I know the blog Lamus Dworski, LAMUSDWORSKI. They have a lot of like good like sort of folk. Oh, here I am putting in the pink, and I'm trying to multitask here, so I'm gonna have the tripod of the camera hold it. Oh, then I'm doing my drapanka. Anyways, yeah, so Lamus Dworski has a lot of really good like folk stuff. Here I'm showing you the kind of needle you can use. You know, if they're sewing needles. You might even be able to use an X-Acto knife. Oh, here's a design I kind of made based off of something that I found in that book that I showed you earlier. Yeah, but Lamus Dworski has a lot of really good like folk art or like traditional Polish, like regional outfits, like not just Easter stuff, but they have a really good list. I feel like it's them that has that list. But anyways, yeah, they have like really good lists of like folk art information. Yeah, and eggs, and different types of eggs. History that's attached to it. Also regionally, which style of egg is popular where. So that's always really cool, because a lot of, you know, Poland is, I'd say, like a nation of sort of like a monocultural nation. But actually, if you sort of go down to the nitty gritty, like we're quite multicultural in ourselves, in terms of like we have, you know, Silesian, Polish, Kashubian, Gural. That's just like 4 off the top of my head, and everyone has their own unique linguistic sort of dialects and different sort of like traditional cultures. So in Poland, like regional differences are very much, you can almost argue they're cultural differences. Yeah, you know, they're just united sort of nations under one country. So anyway, sorry, there's me going off on my little tangent, my little academic tangent. So you can kind of see that, you know, it's, to be honest, this is really hard on your fingers. Like a couple of times you may see me, oh, I forgot about my dye, so I had to take it out. Didn't want it in there too long. But you can kind of see me once in a while, kind of squeezing my fingers or like moving them around, just because that is a very fine work. Oh, and here it is. So you can see that that pink was brighter, and this is more closer to the color of the Christmas plate that I had everything on. This is a very multi-holiday. Oh, there you go. You can kind of see what it looks like after I've taken the wax off. Don't keep it too, like this. it looks like it's really close to the flame, but like keep it at least like a centimeter or two away from the flame, because if you don't, then the flame will crawl up your egg and burn it, and then you'll have this kind of like black soot mark that you may or may not be able to actually take off. So be careful. I know it's, after doing this for many years, you want to get as much of the wax off as possible. I think soon you'll see my little mistake. Oh, you can already see. Ah, there we go. Yeah. So that's when I realized I didn't plug in my bottom and top little egg holes that I made. So dye had got in, and when I was, oh, and you can see all of them together, little family. So dye had got in, and then you can see it's in my, yeah, you have to clean that up because it's not fun to burn that because it's also water and it's chemical dye. Anyway, so when water got in and the flame heated up the egg, it basically, oh yeah, here I am putting it in my yellow. The flame basically cooks up the water and it just comes out. So yeah, don't do that, because then you'll have those little splotches there. And my tablecloth has been very, very kind to me. Anytime something went on it, it quickly was able, I could quickly wipe it off. There's a few stains here and there, but they're more or less on the flower area, so I'm lucky there. And here I am just scratching away. Scratching away. And this one is a little bit more tedious because you really have to scratch, and sometimes you have to get the right angle. Like, you can't going right on top of it sometimes doesn't work. Kind of on a slight slant will sometimes work. And then if you really want like those little bulbs that I'm making, you really gotta scratch in one place and then kind of like loop it around a bit. And you can see I'm trying to use different needles to see if one is more high, like heavy duty than the other one. No, it's just the one needle I was using was the best, and sometimes it kind of dulled a little bit, but then I just switched angles, and yeah, it's a process. I prefer writing than scratching away, but yeah, you can kind of see excuse me, you can kind of see where I've already actually made a design. So I was I think I had like a TV show on, and I was just scratching away just to get it done so that I could have most of it done. But here I am sort of adding a little, you know, it looks like a little infinity symbol, but you can also make it into a little daisy, like anything, like a little flower on the side. I just wanted to quickly do something, and I thought a flower would be quick, but the petals are rounded, and then I had to add leaves because it was too bare. So plan your designs out a little bit better. But here you go. Oh, see, movie magic. The other side is done as well. And yeah, so this is what a scratched off egg looks like. And then this is the book I used. Very briefly, you can see it. And then here's one of my natural dyes. And I wasn't too, I don't know. I thought it wasn't going to work, but it worked very, very, you can kind of see faintly. Again, if this was on a white egg, probably better. I didn't put it in the purple dye just because I wanted to try a different dye. So that's on me. But here you go. Here are my little eggs. I did go back and scratch sort of the outline of that one on the right, but here's just me assembling all my little eggs, my little egg family, and you can see just how different all these eggs are. And thank you for joining me. Bye.